Welcome to the Mayor's Corner. On this episode of the Mayor's Corner, we're going to talk about all the development going on, not just in the downtown, but throughout all of De Pere. We're here on the corner of William Street and Wisconsin Street, which is kind of the main hub of everything going on. I'm joined by our Development Services Director, Dan Lindstrom, who has all the knowledge and know-how about what's happening. So we thought, Dan, we would start here, because there's a lot going on here. You can hear the construction behind us. We have stuff on Wisconsin Street. We have stuff on William Street. Matter of fact, William Street is reopened for the first time in 40 plus years. So, how about some background on all this stuff going on?
Hello, Mayor. Thank you for having me on the corner here today. Well, it is exciting times here in De Pere. We have a lot going on, and really a lot of this started back when Shopko closed in 2019. A lot of communities saw that impact, and De Pere was one of them. A lot of communities saw their former Shopkos turned into climate-controlled mini storage, and De Pere was able to stave off that and see some redevelopment happen into the downtown. And so what we'll talk about here today are a couple of those sites.
Great.
Like you said, right behind us here, we have William and Wisconsin Street, and we see the redevelopment of the Shopko site turning into a mixed-use center. And that mixed-use center, under construction right now, is bookmarked by two projects that are underway, which is the one that's in gray right now, but will be have its facade be placed on over the next few months, is the 550 William Street, which is a mixed-use project which includes 60 market-rate apartments as well as first-floor retail components that will be opened up for restaurants and other retail users that will be fit into the downtown matrix. Also behind us is the 90-room Marriott Town Place Suites. That is a 90-room boutique type hotel. And what I mean by boutique, not so much in what it is, but the actual style of construction. Marriott Town Place Suites are an extended stay type model under the Marriott family. However, if you look at them along any of the highways that you see, they don't look like what we're getting here, which is a 5-story brick facade building that looks like it fits within the character of the downtown.
That was part of everything that you were charged with. The Common Council sent direction was, let's try to weave this into the character of the downtown.
Yes, a lot of what you're going to see here is about how do we bring new development and still retain the character, while it may not be so much the exact replication, but at least we'll have design elements and characters that mesh with the downtown, which a lot of what you see in these projects is going to be brick. It's going to be that same kind of urban to the street that you see in the downtown, maintaining that storefronts, maintaining that element of the downtown.
So we're talking 90 units, we're talking 60 units, multiple more units coming in. With that comes challenges, one being parking. Yep. So how are we addressing the parking situation?
Yeah, so as part of these projects, any parking in the downtown is always a challenge. When we have parking as part of projects, it really increases the cost of the actual project and sometimes makes them unaffordable. Both of these projects would not happen if they were to do their own underground parking. The projects are not big enough to overcome the large cost for underground parking. So as a result, part of the negotiations with these projects is the city had its groundbreaking a couple weeks ago for our 224 stall parking ramp that will be adjacent to these and actually will mesh with the design appropriately. These two users will then lease spaces from the city as part of their business plan, as part of our operations plan, as well as using the tax revenue created from these two projects to pay off the debt that the city's taking out from the tax increment district to build the ramp. So as it sits now, the project is being funded through Tax Incremental Financing, as well as the revenue generated from the users, as well as the general public who will be coming to use this ramp. Now, obviously, we are standing in a parking lot now, and we have parking lots around the downtown. Our downtown, both east and west sides, we have 27 acres of surface parking. And if you encapsulate about $1 million an acre, which is roughly the cost of open land in the downtown, it's $27 million worth of surface parking. Not the highest and best use.
Could be used for something else.
Could be used for something else. And so once the parking ramp opens, we will systematically be going through the downtown and look at our pocket parking lots that we have that may be 20 stalls, maybe 25 stalls. can those be used for fill-in development that are a little bit smaller of the scale and fit within the character? But we'll start to identify those and allow those to become redevelopment sites as well.
Great. Now we won't go in great detail on TIDs, tax increment districts.
Another episode.
Another episode, but just very briefly, obviously these are really big lifts for private developers. The city does have some kind of involvement to incentivize or help move this along. Can you just briefly explain that we have a little bit of exposure to these developments?
Yeah, so part of any development, usually of this scale, and any redevelopment, there becomes what's known as a gap. Meaning the private financing and the private equity isn't enough to overcome the increased cost of construction as well as the increased cost of borrowing recently. And so developers are then required to show us what that gap is. And that's where tax incremental financing comes in as the tool to help bridge that gap. And what tax incremental financing is at the very high level, it's leveraging their future revenue that they are going to generate from a tax standpoint to put back into the project. We're not asking somebody who lives 2 miles away that their taxes are going to go towards this project. That's not how that works. We're leveraging their future taxes to help fund their projects. And so this is a combination and a partnership between the city and then the overlapping taxing jurisdictions, which is the county, the school district, and the technical college, all agree that this is a good project to have in the downtown, and let the city go forth and create the economic development projects for this.
Moving in a slightly different direction, but still with this project, infrastructure. And we're talking about the streets. Wisconsin Street, we're talking William Street, and all that's being handled. Dan, you want to address that?
Yeah, these projects don't stand in a vacuum by themselves. They often require that public-private partnership, and infrastructure is a vital part of that one. And so both these projects worked hand in hand with our engineering division to make sure that the infrastructure could handle these projects. And when it couldn't handle the projects, now we're going to see what you're going to see over the next few months here is the utility work as well as the street reconstruction work. And so part of this project, you're going to see a brand new street facade that comes in play that really incorporates more of the pedestrian scale elements. We talk about street lighting, benches, trees, bringing back that, I guess you would say, almost that
feel,
that downtown feel towards it.
Sure.
Obviously, when Shopko was here, it was one larger building, and William Street stopped right at Wisconsin Street. Part of this project is reestablishing the street grid that brings this street back to the neighborhood and the neighborhood back to Broadway. And so that's another one of these elements that came part of this project.
Perfect. So now you can pretty much understand how complex these projects are, not just the buildings themselves, but it moves out to the streets, infrastructure, utilities, all many components. Okay, now we're going to shift a little bit here and talk about the TIDs and how TIDs are helping housing affordability. You want to describe how De Pere is kind of achieving that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the tax incremental districts in the city are offered an additional tool by the state of Wisconsin. Before a municipality closes a tax increment district, they're able to keep it open for one more year and hold those funds and use them exclusively for affordable housing opportunities or issues in the community. And so the City of De Pere in 2021 closed tax increment district number 6. And during that time, the Common Council met and discussed what ways could we increase housing affordability in the community. And so as TID number 6 closed, the city was able to recapture about $1.8 million. And we were able to identify certain areas of the community that we want to start to leverage those dollars towards. One of them is just a recent announcement that we heard recently, which was the Habitat Rock the Block neighborhood improvement program.
Sure.
That is run by Habitat for Humanity. The community members may have seen that program in 2024, and now they're back in 2026. That program in itself, the funding directly comes from the TID Affordability Fund.
So the captured money from the TID.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then the other programs that the city has created and are starting to utilize now is a low interest loan program for homeowners in the community who are either purchasing a home that want to do some improvements, or they've lived in their home for a while and want to make improvements to it. So that home improvement loan is a very low interest loan that is up to $50,000 for 15 years. And also the loan improvement program also does flex the rules a little bit more for those that are wishing to do lead abatement and other safety mechanisms to bring their homes into compliance. And so that is a great program for existing homeowners who meet certain criteria, whose homes are of certain age, that are in need of renovations, that gives them a low interest loan option that they wouldn't be able to at a private bank.
And I think it was mentioned that something like 50% of the homes were built before 1980 in De Pere. So we have a lot of homes that could be in need of some kind of repair or are doing it anyways. And here's a chance to get a pretty low interest loan.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Is we have a lot of homes, just like a lot of communities in Wisconsin. We have a very aging housing stock, good housing stock, but it's aging, and you want to make sure that you can keep up with that housing stock so it doesn't fall into disrepair. So by providing a low interest loan program for existing residents, it offers an affordability option that may not have been there a few years ago.
That's great. Well, then we can kind of shift a little bit. We have another program too, a lot purchase program.
Yeah, the housing lot purchase program is designed for working with our partners, much like NeighborWorks or Habitat for Humanity. When a subdivision is designed and built, the city oftentimes becomes a conduit for helping fund that subdivision, and then those are paid back as the lots sell, so that it reduces the lot price for the developer, for the builder. Now that being said, that's a great opportunity and a representative of a public-private partnership, but maybe we can do more. Oftentimes for some of these builders, the cost of the lot becomes the biggest barrier to starting and making a home affordable. When a quarter-acre lot costs $70,000 to $80,000 to $90,000, it becomes really cost prohibitive, especially for some of these nonprofit programs who are trying to do the work as well. So when we can bring that lot price down through this affordability fund and reserve some lots in every new subdivision, gives us an opportunity to increase affordability across the board. And I know we're probably going to go out to another site here shortly, but I want to say last year the Common Council extended TID number 8 now, one more year to capture money for affordable housing. And it's very unique that TID number 8 is roughly known as the Humana campus area, a little bit of the Lawrence Drive area, a lot of the business park area. Sure. And now as that business park area has sort of transitioned into a mixed use with residential and multifamily, the Common Council has entered into a developer's agreement with a developer to implement affordable housing inside of a mixed use and a multifamily project. And that is the, I guess you'd say, fourth leg of the stool of our affordability program, is reserving funds to help developers include affordable units inside of their market rate projects. And so on the Humana campus right now, there's a development agreement approved for four buildings, each 42 units, of which 20% of those units will be reserved for those individuals making 80% of the county median income.
Well, that's great. So again, another example of we're not just concerned about the downtown and trying to find ways to activate that and make things happen. It's throughout the entire city of De Pere, residential, business parks. So this is just a little look at what the city of De Pere is doing and partnering with others to help with affordability and help people get in their first home or go someplace else. Well, now we moved over to the west side, just off of Lawrence Drive, what's known as the Humana campus, for a pretty exciting project going on. Dan, what do we have going on over here?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, last we talked a little bit about the affordable housing opportunities in the community.
That's
and just
correct.
Increasing affordability, community-wide. So this is a prime example of post-COVID world, I guess you would say. The Humana campus, it's what's known around here, post-COVID, Humana sold their campus to a private developer leasing the building back to Humana and others, but that left quite a few acres available for development.
A big chunk of land.
A big piece. And so what's behind us here is the first phase of a multi-phase project to incorporate multifamily into this greater area. And this is a avenue a lot of communities are doing, taking spaces that are already surrounded by built-out areas and then kind of infilling with residential development of various different housing types. Sure. And so that's what we're seeing here. This project behind us is a total of 8 buildings. In each building are 42 units.
42 units.
So for the first phase, or what I'll call the first 4 buildings, is 168 units total.
Okay.
Out of that, 20% of those units, or 8 in each building, are reserved for individuals making 80% of the county median income or less. And so that's the affordability component.
Sure.
The rest of them will be market rate. The units are all the same, it's just they have to reserve a certain amount of units to qualify for the affordable housing funding. And that funding is coming directly from the city through the closure of the Tax Incremental District,
which we had described before. So This is another example of that money being used to help the needs of those who just can't quite afford it.
Exactly.
So we're talking about those, all these apartments apartments going up and all these units going up, but we're looking at other things on this property itself. What else is happening on this campus?
Yeah, so if you, some of who've been around De Pere long enough remember there used to be a baseball field on this Humana campus as well. That was the lease. The city leased that space from Humana on an annual basis. Well, when the redevelopment time came, that site now is kind of home to a single family development. And so from an affordability standpoint, we're also seeing a little bit shift and change of the densification, I guess you would say, of what would typically be considered single family. Single family neighborhoods 20, 30, 40 years ago, we tried to get out as wide as we could, curvilinear lots. Well, as a community, we found that's very inefficient for services wise and it became very costly to repair that. In addition to that one, and to build at that scale, developers are finding it's just not feasible or functional from a dollar standpoint. And so we're starting to see more of the single family side start to get back to narrower lots, smaller lot sizes. And so that's what we're seeing on the southern side of Employer Boulevard here, which will be phase one is almost complete of about 40 single family lots that are of smaller size. But that project in itself also incorporates a clubhouse and managed lawn care and that whole kind of full service
like
neighborhood. Yeah, full service neighborhood. Phase two, we're expected to start, kick off with the planning and the approvals later this year with full implementation over the next few years.
So we're looking at multiple units.
Yeah, 90 total units of single family over here. This first phase is 168 total units of multifamily. We hope this does well and the second phase kicks off with another 168 units in the future.
All right, now we're shifting over to the far southwest side on the west side of De Pere, off the Industrial Park, Business Park. Behind me right here is property that was annexed to De Pere a couple months ago. Dan, what's going on over here?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So yeah, like you said, here we are on the southwest side of the community. We're at the very terminus of American Boulevard here. To our right, you'd see the business park, and to our left, you'd see Garrity's Glen South subdivision. So we're this nexus of business and residential, sort of how it's happened in the community. Well, our next phase is to grow that business park and grow that residential part. And so about in 2023, the city had an opportunity to use the benefit of the tax increment district that is here to purchase additional land. So we purchased about 75 acres in 2023 and recently annexed it into the city in 2025. Now, the plan for 2026 now is to extend American Boulevard into the town of Lawrence, actually to our border, where then the town of Lawrence can actually connect to the American Boulevard, and we can connect the two communities.
So behind us, Lawrence is just behind us.
Yeah, the town of Lawrence just behind us. So what you see, the homes back there, that's the town of Lawrence homes. And so we have an opportunity here to kind of do two things with this piece of property, one of which is on what would be the east side of the American Boulevard extension would be to continue that business park, and on the west side, we'll look to extend the residential portion of it. And so the city will be putting out an RFP later this spring.
RFP is?
Request for proposals to developers to take what would they like to do with this piece of property. We've actually already taken it a little bit a step further, and we've done a master plan for what this property could be. We're going to put that out to the developers and say, hey, look at this proposal, weigh it back and forth with your teams, and how would you like to see this proposal and this site be developed? The site's very flat, and so from a stormwater management standpoint, you have to kind of have a real forethought on where those stormwater ponds go. So we've done a lot of planning on that side of it. But the overall goal for this development in here is to continue what we talked about, which is the adding density back to our communities to make the lots more affordable. And so instead of having the quarter-acre lots and with a large amount of space, you may see in this case townhomes. You may see the smaller single-family lots with an alley, with detached garages or attached garages on the rear. So that again, we look forward into our neighborhoods again. Instead of just seeing garage doors, we'll see a little bit more of the homes.
Alleys. You know, alleys were what dominates most cities.
Yeah.
Appeared, no different. Decades ago. Coming back.
Little bit, and the very important key distinction is years ago we put utilities in the alleys. That became very cost prohibitive to do them in the future. You design them appropriately, keep the utilities out, and so it's just an avenue for snow clearing, and the alleys can survive a lot longer time frame than what we are today.
Very exciting. Is this part of the lot purchase program potential moving forward?
Potentially, yes. The city could request and have developers reserve lots that we would ultimately purchase from them. Sure. To that way we can grant to nonprofits who are looking to add affordability into those.
Again, another example of trying to attack that affordability issue, which is very real. By the way, we mentioned annexations. It should be clear to the residents that we don't go out there searching for land. People have to come to us. That's how it works, correct?
Yeah, the owners of this property actually came to us and said, hey, as a family, we're looking to sell this. Would you be interested? And at that point, we took a look at it as the city and said, you know what? Yes, because it is part of our boundary agreement with the city and the town of Lawrence. This land was slated to come into the city as per the agreement between the two communities. And so it made sense for us to use tax incremental financing funds to acquire the land and bring it into the city.
Okay, now we're in the East Business Park along Commerce Drive. So we're going to talk about some development going on the last couple of years here. We're actually right behind us is the new Amerilux building. How about this one, Dan?
Yeah, so right behind us is the new Amerilux manufacturing and logistics facility. Now, Amerilux in itself is located in this facility, but so are also several other businesses, including De Pere-based businesses. And so when Amerilux took on this project, which is about a 500,000 square foot manufacturing and logistics facility, it had opened up an opportunity for De Pere-based businesses and other businesses around the region to actually use their logistics facilities and locate their product here. And then what that ultimately offers is more businesses being able to expand on their own sites without having to warehouse their own products. So this is a great opportunity for Amerilux to expand, but also other businesses in the area. And as you see on the sign here, you see Bedford Paper and Durr, two prime examples of De Pere businesses that now can use this facility for logistics purposes and expand on their own site.
And that's great. Just down behind us here is the new plant for Belmark, another quite large business we have in the business park and within the De Pere footprint, correct?
Absolutely. One of our largest business footprints in the city is Belmark, and Belmark opened plant number 7 here, as they call it, plant number 7, just on the corner of Commerce Drive and Rockland Road, but future Southern Bridge route that's going to be right here, and so it's a great opportunity to add another existing business, adding existing facilities and new facilities to this region.
So literally these trucks that we see here and any of these businesses down here will just hop right on to the new South Bridge connector, cross the bridge, and
that's
wherever they decide to
exactly. That's one of the best parts.
172, Highway 41.
This location for a business park is it will be immediately adjacent to the future Southern Bridge route, which will allow truck traffic to immediately head east or west and avoid heading through the downtown.
I imagine your phone's kind of off the hook, huh?
Yeah.
People looking to locate, and we are open for business, as we always like to state.
As always, and so we are running out of space, so we always do encourage people to reach out to me as soon as possible. Even just today, I took about 3 different calls today about business park properties already, so.
Wow, and part of your job that you're challenged with is we do assist and help a wide range of ways, but one of which is, of course, monetarily, so that's part of the TID district and utilizing those funds, correct?
Absolutely. Our role is to help facilitate and figure out how to make a project happen. Oftentimes, either through market economies, cost of capital, or whatever it is, a project can be stalled out. Our role is to kind of fill that last void or that last gap to make sure that project can come across the finish line, and that's what we've done in both of these cases.
That is great. Now pivoting slightly different, but in the same area, we have a compost site on Rockland Road that the City of De Pere is shifting pretty much in its own backyard. And right now we're probably seeing what's going on. It'll be open in a few months. But how does that assist our business park and future development, just shifting a compost site?
Yeah, we have a very large site that's been marked for development, I guess you would say. It's the site of our compost site, or our former compost site, our yard waste transfer station. But really, the transition from a large 20-acre piece down to almost a 2 to 3 acre piece is really to be a yard waste transfer station. So what has typically been known as a compost site is really not that. It's meant to hold yard waste in a very short amount of time and be trucked off to an off-site location. So by consolidating that to a smaller site, we've now opened ourselves up to a much larger site available for and slated for development.
That's great. So as we've been talking about in the number of different locations throughout De Pere is pretty active right now. Lots of stuff going on, and we anticipate that will be the case going into the future, correct?
Absolutely. Southern Bridge is going to be one of our next, I guess you'd say, kind of generational projects, and as a result, we're going to see development happen not only in our business parks, but even south of Rockland Road and beyond. So it's great to see. It's exciting, and I'm sure another Mayor's Corner coming up will be about Southern Bridge.
Absolutely, and I want to thank Dan Lindstrom, Development Services Director, for at least showing us a little snapshot of what we have going on throughout De Pere, both business and residential, and of course the downtown. So all this stuff is exciting. It's going on in the city right now. If you have any questions about any of this or want to talk business, this is your guy right here. So Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.